Naomi Bennett stood at the floor-to-ceiling window, staring out at a city that sparkled with a promise she could no longer feel. The mansion, once a symbol of her dreams, had transformed into a gilded cage. Inside, the silence was heavy, thick with a dread that settled in her bones. She adjusted her sleeve, carefully hiding the fading bruise on her wrist as the front door clicked open. Adrian was home. His polished shoes hit the marble floor with the rhythmic precision of gunshots. Tall and dressed in a sharp charcoal suit, he carried the arrogance of a man the world deemed a visionary. To the public, he was a business genius, a titan of industry. To Naomi, he was a predator in a tailored suit. He loosened his tie, his gaze ice cold as it swept across the room. "Why didn't you answer my calls?" he snapped, his voice cutting through the silence like a blade. Naomi hesitated, her heart hammering against her ribs. "I was helping Zara with her homework," she whispered. The excuse meant nothing. Adrian slammed his phone onto the mahogany table, the sound echoing like a thunderclap. Naomi flinched, a reflex born of years of systematic control. "I provide this life," he growled, stepping into her personal space. "The least you can do is answer." She lowered her eyes, a survival tactic learned in the shadows of his rage. He had stripped away her friends, her confidence, and her voice. But the shift happened on a Tuesday. Zara sat at the piano, struggling with a difficult piece. When Adrian barked wrong at a missed note and lashed out, Naomi finally moved. The slap sent her crashing into the keys, but seeing the terror in her daughter's eyes shattered the last of Naomi's fear. That night, she clung to a single verse: "No weapon formed against you shall prosper." By dawn, they were gone. The divorce was a public massacre. Adrian used every ounce of his influence to paint Naomi as unstable, destroying her reputation until she was left with nothing but a tiny, drafty apartment. Survival was brutal, but Naomi was no longer the woman in the gilded cage. She put all her trust in God, and prayer became her daily bread. She poured her remaining savings into her only asset, natural skincare recipes she had perfected in secret. She called it Grace and Glory Organics. Her dining table became her factory, where she mixed oils by hand, her fingers stained, but her spirit rising. Just as the business began to stir, Adrian struck again. He called investors, blacklisting her from the industry she was trying to enter. She sat in her small office, surrounded by unpaid invoices, whispering a desperate prayer for a way forward. She was at the edge of the abyss, but she refused to fall back into his hands. 3 days later, a courier delivered a heavy, cream-colored invitation. Elias King, a titan of industry far more powerful than Adrian, requested a meeting. At the restaurant, Elias listened as Naomi recounted her story, her voice steady for the first time in years. He didn't offer pity, he offered a partnership. "Men like Adrian only hold power because others fear them," Elias stated, sliding a proposal across the table. With his backing, Grace and Glory Organics exploded into a household name. But the partnership went deeper. While Naomi built her brand, Elias quietly fed evidence of Adrian's systematic fraud to federal investigators. The empire built on lies and intimidation began to crumble. One by one, Adrian's assets were frozen, and his reputation was erased from the high society he once dominated. The predator was finally the prey, caught in a net of his own making, while Naomi watched from the light of her success. One evening, a broken, disheveled man knocked on Naomi's door. It was Adrian. He stood in the shadows, his tailored suits replaced by the rags of his pride. "I lost everything," he whispered, his eyes hollow and searching for a mercy he never gave. Naomi stood in the doorway, Zara standing tall beside her. She felt no malice, no burning desire for revenge, only the weight of her own hard-won freedom. She reached out and handed him a card for a rehabilitation ministry. "The difference is simple," she said, her voice clear and firm. "When I lost everything, I turned to God. You turned to destruction." She didn't wait for an answer. She closed the door, leaving the darkness of the past behind. She walked back into the warmth of her home, into a life of her own making, finally free from the cage and walking in the light.